The January 3rd, 2011 meeting of the Agenda Charter Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Barker?
Here.
Mr. Eckel?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Howland?
Here.
And Chairman Yolda?
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium. You'll have 2 minutes and only 2 minutes in which to address the committee. Please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you. The first person is Tom Trevitt.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask that you all adhere to the 2-minute rule tonight, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I have read that some of the majority here feel that the current proposed method of redistricting is fair. And I'd like to express the reasons why I disagree. The current 5-member group reflects bygone days when the Republicans had a numerical advantage in the registration in the county. Over those many, many years, the Republican majority redistricted in very partisan manner, squeezing just enough Democratic votes into each district without jeopardizing the prospect of a Republican win. So the fact that the Republicans are in the majority in the county legislature today is a fact of past partisan redistricting. Today, the Democrats have the registration advantage in the county, approximately 169,000 to 134,000. And to overlook that fact is to pretend that we are back in the days when each town would send supervisors to the county seat, rather than today's system of sending a legislator separate from the county or from the supervisor to the county legislature. Now, to be fair in the ways of the past, Democrats should be in the majority on a redistricting panel today. All Mr. Esposito's proposal seeks is a panel with equal number of Republicans and Democrats. Certainly a generous proposal that Democrats have never been offered. I urge you to think long and hard before acting in a manner inconsistent with the tenor of your constituents, reflected by the signing of a similar pledge by the governor, Republican Majority Leader Skelos, a majority of the members of the state legislature, all editorial boards in the state of New York, the League of Women Voters, as well as 3 counties that have already adopted nonpartisan commissions, Suffolk, Nassau, and Ulster. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
The next speaker is Nathan Jaschik.
Chairman and other members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am president of Citizens for a Better New York, a nonpartisan organization devoted to reform of the New York State government, particularly its processes, which make it characterized as being one of the most dysfunctional in the country. We want to improve that. Among the issues that we are concerned with in terms of these processes is the question of redistricting, and we support independent redistricting at the state level. Supporting independent redistricting for the state legislature certainly suggests we ought to support independent redistricting at the county level. Good government is good government regardless of what level it appears at. I will leave my prepared remarks with the clerk for you to peruse. In it you will find the usual reasons why gerrymandering is bad and why you should adhere to an independent form of redistricting. I'll use my remaining time just to point out 2 constructive suggestions we have to make with respect to the proposed law. One is that it pretty much tries to keep all of the towns intact in a redistricting process. If you're going to create districts that are within 1% of one another, this is clearly impossible. And what we suggest instead is that wording be used to reflect that if towns must be divided, that give respect to neighborhoods, subdivisions, hamlets, other identifiable communities, and use natural boundaries as well as municipal lines for district boundaries, but keep the areas compact and compatible with one another. The second suggestion is that the data that's used by the committee be blind to political demographics. Registration information, voting information should not be used. So thank you for your time, and we urge that Monroe join the other 3 counties of New York State and enact independent district.
The next speaker is Kim Gibson.
My fellow citizens and honorable legislators, I'm here today to speak in favor of independent redistricting in Monroe County and in New York State. It's hard to believe that we are here in 2011 discussing independent redistricting. It is an idea so simple and fair that it seems silly we don't already have an independent process for redistricting. What is even harder to believe is that as citizens, we are reduced to approaching our elected officials to appeal for fair redistricting. One would think that this would be the leadership that the role that our legislators would welcome. We are continually being reminded by our city, county, and state representatives that we need to work together, Democrats and Republicans, to make the most of our shrinking resources and our influence. Here is our opportunity. What does the current process bring us? Backroom deals to deliver safe seats for incumbents, county residents pitted against city residents, and an inability to get our fair share of state resources. I credit the Democratic caucus for raising this issue this year, and I strongly urge the Republican majority to adopt a nonpartisan independent board to fairly and properly apportion our community's political representation.
The next speaker is Sandy Frankel. Sandy Frankel. Okay, we'll move on. The next speaker is Catherine Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. The League of Women Voters, Rochester Metro area, joined the Fair District Monroe on the 10th of November in 2010 because of a decade-old league position on reapportionment, whose 4 core goals: redistricting commission be independent, diverse, transparent, and have a standardization of the criteria for the drawing of the lines. After reviewing the composition and process of the last redrawing of district lines for the 29 seats in the Monroe County Legislature, the League of Women Voters supports some changes in 2011. With 3 months to complete this rather complex, important, and indeed political process, we support the addition of more members to the Legislative District Revision Commission to meet the goal of diversity and independence. We welcome a debate on this evening. Secondly, we support more public hearings by the commission itself once appointed. At least one at the beginning of the process for communities of interest, citizens' comments, and one before the final map is presented to the legislators for their final public review. Third, we support criteria, compactness, political boundaries. They're made public at the beginning of the process and adhered to from the initial staff's drawing of the lines from the new census data to the approval by the legislature. The League of Women Voters Rochester Metro Area's members and citizens will judge the outcome based upon these principles. We want to witness a competitive election for each district next fall. I would recommend to the members of this committee 2 websites that have lengthy discussions on these criteria. www.brennancenter.org and www.lyb.org. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
The next speaker is Mal Callen.
Good evening, my name is Mel Callen. I'm a citizen of Penfield, where we are represented by 2 county legislators. I don't think from the comments that we've heard thus far that there's going to be a good government, nonpartisan group that's going to oppose an independent commission for redistricting. I think to most of us it's motherhood and apple pie. And I think to say that the redistricting problem is just an issue at the state level, I think is more than disingenuous. Our own legislator, one of our legislators representing Penfield, actually represents 3 towns. And he has commented that that gives him the opportunity to know all 3 towns. And I would take a step back and say, on the other hand, it's also a way to be not held accountable to any one of those towns. For example, we had a candidate forum this past election season, and that very same night where we were having a candidate forum for our town board seat, the only one in Monroe County that was up for election this year, there was a citizen's request, not just a request, citizens pleaded with the county legislators to attend a hearing about a development project in the town of Penfield. And our 2 legislators, rather than go to that and recognize that citizen request and plea, chose to go to support their friend, a Republican candidate, at the forum that they had for the candidates. And I think this just speaks volumes about the commitment that one would have as a county legislator when you really don't feel obligated to the citizens if redistricting is redrawn with that partisan look. Really, if the county legislature was following the will of the people, we would have a Democratic majority because the majority of the voters in this county are Democrats. But to be fair to everybody, I think an independent commission would do us all good, and I think every citizen in this county would agree with that, as they have asked for at the state level. We also need it at the county level. Thank you very much.
The last speaker is Tom Gregory.
I'm going to say I'll keep things the way they are, the way they should be. I read your proposal twice, Mr. Esposito, and I find some parts of it are deficient, actually legally. One of your sections, so you couldn't get any jurists who would sit on this committee. I was refer you to Goldstein, I think. I'll give you the case afterwards by People versus Orange, or in a matter of Orange, as well as in a case Goldstein. This is a 1965 case that basically was looking at the way that Monroe County was put together, where we had 24 award people in the city of Rochester, we each having 1 vote. And actually it was the Democrats who basically were going to give basically like partisan 1/6 of the vote when they were looking at doing weighted voting. They want to maintain, it's a long history. Thing is that this is a political process. And when you really take a look at the comments made by both Democrats and Republicans in the past, they have seen the competence that exists in the Board of Elections, and our Board of Election people, in conjunction with the legislators, have done very well in putting together a county format and plan that equally balances the concerns of people in the county with those concerns of the city. So much that a Republican actually took a step back when he realized that he was going to lose his position. This is a person named Wood, or Wood or Ward, I believe his name was Wood, realizing that it was in the interest, and this is a quote, I can't give you verbatim, a quote, it was an interest for him to step back so we could have more and better minority representation. When you start to go through the legislative files and the newspaper clipping files over at the Rundell Memorial Library, I refer you to the public local history section, and realize how much effort has been put into this process to maintain a fair and equitable share of voting share amongst the population of this county. by Republicans, I know for one that I will stand very insulted should I hear any of this condescending talk in the future that would make this side of the aisle look bad, when I know that the history reported by an adversary in that newspaper shows us to be actually kind of pretty good. We care about government. I would say that very strongly about our Republican Party. Thank you.
Is there any person who was not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Supervisor Frankel here again. She lost her turn. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the October 25th, 2010 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business.
Referral 10-0362, Independent Redistricting Commission for the Monroe County Legislature.
Mr. Chairman, before making the motion, I'd ask to make a few brief comments as a matter of personal privilege.
Got to move and second it before we have any discussion.
Just ask you for a matter of personal privilege.
I ask you to move and second it before.
Okay, well, I'll be very clear then. It is my intention tonight to withdraw this proposal from consideration for this committee. I feel very strongly that this is a once-in-a-decade opportunity to deal with something that's extraordinarily important in the light of the overwhelming public comments I've received recently and the encouraging comments I've received from my colleagues across the aisle. I'd like this committee to take more time to address it and perhaps find a way we can reach a bipartisan compromise. So for that reason, I'm withdrawing this referral this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Esposito. Next item.
Okay, referral number 10-0367.